New American Liberty League. Listen, I know I don't have the face for videos or the voice for podcasts. So to all 26 of you that are going to watch the first 5 minutes of this and then go back to watching garbage on TikTok, I'm sorry. I am D. Hearn, Daniel Leonardo Hernandez. This is my son, Emil Alexander Hernandez, in whom I am well pleased. Listen, we were on the verge of making another video yesterday. Then we got the breaking news of the guilty verdicts in the Trump case. So we decided to scrap everything and do this video instead. What we got in the notebook today is the big topic is going to be about the Trump case, but on a bigger scale. What have we lost in America? Is America even still America? Then in the news segment, of course, we're going to get to the Trump verdict, some great yet scary stuff with Neuralink and some disturbing stuff about the Israeli conflict and the relationship with us in Israel. Then, of course, if you like money, do you like money?
I like money.
If you like money, tune in. We always talk about some financial stuff on the back end. So when we do these, we have a format for every show. We take very little notes. Most of the notes are just to keep us on that format. And other than that, Emil, he doesn't know the first questions I'm going to ask him. He doesn't know what I'm getting into later on. So most of this we do right off the top of the head.
One take.
We've never done a second take. When we edit stuff, it's usually when Emil says something really weird or violent, and then we just silent it out. So, like I said, yesterday we had a whole show in the middle of recording, scrapped it. I don't know if we'll get back to that. Just redo it. I'm not sure. All I know is this we really, really pieced together. So Emil, let me ask you this. I know, especially for your age, you know the Constitution pretty well. None of us are experts, but you know the Constitution. You get the gist of of most of the Bill of Rights. When you think about America, I want you to really stop and think about it. What in America is still original to the founders and the Constitution in general?
Well, I have to say, off the top of my head, not very much. If you look at the Bill of Rights, so many of them have been blatantly disregarded by the government. Mm-hmm. A lot of the initial articles of the Constitution and what they called for has been thrown out, like us being on the gold standard. Mm-hmm. And a ton of other things. Even...
Don't think about that yet. We're going to talk about that. Think about what in America is still true to our founding.
I can't think of one. I really can't. The system of federalism, maybe, that it goes federal government, state government, local government.
Okay.
That's about it. But it's even a two-party system, which it wasn't supposed to be in the beginning. And a ton of other things.
Right. And the reason I asked Emil that first is because I was trying to think of it myself and I couldn't come up with anything. So I wanted him to look like he was the one that was struggling. But yeah, there's not much. I mean, even... So, and I'm not even going to talk about American values, American traditions. I'm talking about strictly, legally, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, in our founding. So we... Like he said, the order of operation, but even that, the states were supposed to do for themselves everything they could, mm-hmm. and the big things were supposed to be left up to the federal government. And I think even that's thrown out. Even that's out of whack, and that comes up in so many areas. But you look at there's also, you know, if you talk about the original Constitution, you also have to think about slavery, and tell them what we think about the 3/5 vote being some. It sounds like it's supposed to be limiting, but it was actually Jefferson meant it as something else.
Yeah, so I think before we get to that, I think it's important to mention Jefferson initially advocated for the ending of slavery outright.
Yep.
In the Declaration of Independence.
The original writings of it, how he wanted it to be. Right.
And he got told to take it out to actually avoid a civil war. They were like, we just got out of a war with Britain, or we're about to end war. So we can't have infighting as well.
Right.
So his plan was the 3/5 compromise. And that was supposed to be a progressive thing that progressed us towards the ending of slavery. Now, would he necessarily have imagined it in the way it happened with the massive civil war? Probably not. But he still was leading us to the point of the ending of slavery.
He knew eventually future generations of America in the not too distant future from where he was would have to deal with slavery, and that 3/5 compromise was a foot in the door to ending slavery, not limiting it. But like he said, some of the original stuff, the currency, even women having the right to vote, which even some of that I've read they're thinking of was supposed to be not necessarily limiting women, but giving each household a vote. Each household led by the man. Most men would not marry a woman that wasn't like-minded as him, and vice versa. So even that was meant to be more of a one vote per household led by the man. In the Bill of Rights, I mean, there's so many things. The freedom of speech, religion, so on and so forth. I feel like the government is even fighting us on that, especially with their tie-in to social media and how much censorship, how they control the media and how much censorship there is in media. We know the Second Amendment is under constant attack, and no party's clean on that, because you got Reagan had a gun ban, Trump had a gun ban. Military not being able to take over homes.
That's the only one
so far.
If something happened here, that would probably change.
So far, search and seizure. That's iffy. After that, you get into a lot of the ones that are about the legal system,
which is
which right now seems to be
out of whack,
super out of whack. Then you get into later on. You get into
states'
rights,
which is
and the
also
role of the states, and the power of the states, which it seems like
it was supposed to be anything not blatantly giving to the federal government
should be in the states' power. Yep.
And the Constitution would fall under the states.
Yep, and it
which
seems
is
like
not the case.
States have completely given that up. Thank God for the DeSantises of the world, the Abbotts of the world, that at least try to have some kind of pushback. But just in general, and like I said, especially those amendments about speedy trial, jury, search and seizure, no ridiculous penalties, cruel and unusual. You know, the fines that they're starting to give conservatives.
Billion.
We talked about this with Alex Jones. Pretty much Trump is getting a $10,000 fine every time he speaks at this point. What we just saw happen, all of it's out of whack. Like I said, we're getting into the Trump trial later. But bigger pick, go ahead.
I think it's also important to note, this isn't fully a recent thing. We can look back in America's history, and just after the Bill of Rights, you go 6 amendments later, and it's actually boosting federal government's power, which is not really what the Constitution was meant to do. It was supposed to limit it. But you look at the 16th Amendment, and it creates income tax.
Right.
And
I mean, even that, no tax without representation. That's gone with the wind. I mean, everything gets a new tax all the time. Nobody's told about it. Nobody votes on it. Taxes are raised. It's even not only the 16th Amendment, but the idea of no tax without representation. Even that's gone.
Even the 16th Amendment was supposed to have limits. Like, it was supposed to just be, for one, a small amount, and also in major wartime, which I guess you could say we're in war literally all the time. It feels like
it may be the reason we're in war all the time,
but it feels like even the federal government goes against that, the limiting parts of it.
And let me say this about the left, if we're going to talk about that, and not saying the right, not saying I don't want to say right-wing presidents, because I don't believe we haven't had any conservative presidents since Coolidge. Even Republican presidents are not off the hook on this, but think about what's going on with Trump and what we just said about taxes. Democrats they'll make false flag events to pull us into wars. Mm-hmm. They have killed and still kill people now. Political enemies, people who wants to change things too much, people with too much information. These leftists tied in with the deep state, tied in with the globalists, and we've talked about this before. We don't know who they are, but we know they're there. These people are ruthless. Do you think to rig an election or to rig a judicial system against their political enemies means anything to these people? They don't care. They will literally kill you. So
there's people, like he said, that's not fully just a Democrat Party thing. There's Republicans that also tend to be part of that probably deep state, I'd imagine.
And love us to constantly be in war. And some of that on the Republican side. Matter of fact, both sides will also be financial.
And will go after like whistleblowers like Julian Assange and people like that.
Right. So, yes, you got to look at tendencies. You got to know where the major problem is. But it is more towards one side. But with that said, both parties are... And, the other thing about the Republican Party is if you look at this loss of America, look at everything, they are supposed to be the party that stands for this stuff. But that has been nothing but lip service because look at all of it that has been lost under their watch.
They're a centrist party.
They are a centrist.
Even when they were founded, they were kind of more on the extreme end of building government when they were founded.
Yes, and we've talked about this before. I mean, when you go to war with your own people, that's pretty big government.
Yeah.
Even though the cause may have been just and legally just, especially with our Bill of Rights, with our Constitution, with the preamble, all this stuff, but there had to be a better way than using the full force of the government against its people. So even, like he said, the founding of the Republican Party, this is... Like we've said before, this nation is divided. We are holding on to straws here. We're holding on to straws. And if you think America, like I just asked Emil, anything that we think is still American, you're holding on to because you want to. But when you look at reality like we just did, it's already gone. This nation is divided. This nation is split. This nation... Maybe the shots haven't been fired yet, but would you say this nation is at war?
I would say, well, soon I feel like we're going to be close to a violent war if something doesn't change. That should be noted.
No war starts right away with gunshots. There is a lot of this kind of ideology fight leading up to it always. The only way to stop a violent war like Emil just brought up is to split this nation. And getting back to the Republican Party, this is not the kind of, and I'm not talking about the voters, I'm talking about the heads of this party that are mostly soft centrists. This is not the kind of party you want to go to battle with. It's just not.
They'd give in. They'd be like, oh, we're not splitting, we're joining, we're staying here.
That's right. So a lot of you people think, oh, now that Trump's been found guilty of this and that, maybe the Republican Party will step it up against the Bidens and maybe now they'll fight back.
No. I mean, look at today. The verdict happened yesterday. What changed outside? Everybody went to work. Everything stayed exactly the same.
They came on TV. They came on Fox Business. They came on Fox News. They gave some interviews. Glenn Beck talked about it a little bit this morning. And look, we know for a fact the 2020 election was stolen. Look at common sense. We knew that night when the bluest areas in 5 swing states stopped the voting at the same exact time and came back and the numbers were completely different. We know that election was stolen. What do we do about it?
Nothing.
Zero. We're going to do
the same thing in 2024.
We'll do the same thing for this guilty verdict. And if 2024 is stolen, the Republican Party will do the same thing. This nation has to split. It will split. By peace or otherwise, this nation will split. And I support it. Let go of that idea of the map. Let go of the idea of all that. If you want to save this republic and what it was founded on, there's one way.
We have to be 2 different countries. That's it. We don't even have the same economy. I hear people call us capitalist, and I'm like, we're not capitalist anymore. You look at any part of our economic system, it sounds like socialism.
It's going more and more that way. Whatever is left of the free market or capitalism, same thing you're hanging on to because of the ideal of it. But when you look at the facts, it's really not. Listen,
the thing we make fun of Europe for, a lot of their economic policies and stuff, we have over here in America now.
Big time. If not, I bet you our welfare state, to me that's socialism. Our welfare state is 10 times bigger than all of Europe put together. Sponsor this half hour. You could trust us. We will uphold your rights and your Constitution. Come visit us at DOJ.org. We promise we are not partisan. DOJ.org. Do you still trust the DOJ?
Not at all.
Stop. They're a sponsor.
Oh.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, DOJ.org. Okay, so now let's get into the trial itself. What do they like to call it?
Hush money trial.
Right. And who likes to call that?
The left.
The left. All of them. It's like they fell right into lockstep.
You know who else fell into that? The Republican Party.
Like
if
always.
you look at like Fox and stuff like that,
That's
they
what it
also
is.
call it the hush
That's what
money
it is
trial.
because we always let them, not we, they, the media and the soft Republican Party always let them push the agenda, which actually is what we were going to do a show about, and we'll get to that next week.
In reality, what the trial was actually about was not hush money. It was an NDA with this woman named Stormy Daniels, who Trump likely slept with before the 2016 election, and he didn't
though at one time she said it didn't even happen.
And he didn't want it to come ruin his image or something like that
NDAs,
in the 2016
NDAs
election.
happen all the time.
And it's legal. It's totally legal.
I have a cleaning. We have a cleaning business that we have a contract with at night, and one of the people we clean for, companies we clean for, has us in an NDA. We're not allowed to talk about us working there.
Yeah.
So they're common as could be. They tied that into all kind of other misuse of financial funds. Tied it into him lying and cheating on the value of some of his New York properties when even the banks, the lenders, all these people came out and said it wasn't true. They made their money. All the taxes were paid. This was completely political. There's no other way to look about it. The judge in the case is a humongous Biden and Democrat fundraiser. Him and his family sent all kind of money to the Bidens. That's not even being hidden. He gave the jury, first of all, you're in New York. They tried to get a change of venue. It was shut down. You're in left-wing New York. So the jury was always going to be against Trump. And the judge gave them instructions to just find a second crime. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, we got the hush money. Just find something else.
They didn't have to agree on what the crime was.
They didn't even have to agree, which again is something that's not constitutional. It's scary. It's scary because, if it could happen to someone like Trump, it could happen to any of us. They could find You think getting censored on Facebook or YouTube is bad? Wait till they really want to silence you, and they'll come and hey, this guy's way too conservative. We got to find something. And when you get to the justice system that we all used to count on, and there is no justice in that system, that's a scary place to be. And watching what is happening to Trump now is that's part of what makes it. That's part of what makes it so scary.
Like something out of V for Vendetta.
That's exactly
also,
what it is. Yep.
With the legal system, I think the closest real life example that I could think of off the top of my head is Russia. If you look at Russia, and then Putin has been obviously their president for many years, and the only time he lost, he was pretty much still the president. It was just a puppet. But
I don't even know if he didn't necessarily lose. I think that guy was actually kind of running on Putin's side. Putin had stepped aside and let him run.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was like
then
a
it was
puppet.
just Putin running the whole thing anyway.
So, but if you look at their system, if anyone comes that they think is a real threat, they'll always pull up legal matters back from like the 90s that they would have done, and then they get them thrown in jail. So Putin never really stands a chance at losing, and we could be facing a system like that very soon.
We are.
We pretty much are.
You know, the other thing with this trial is, and this actually just happened in Russia recently. The guy went to jail, and then a few months later he had a heart attack or some sickness in jail. We are so much like old Soviet bloc countries. We're so much like South American countries now. This
Banana Republic.
There's no other way. You know, I hear it all the time, but really, there's no other way to describe it. We are not the America we were meant to be and used to be. Things to come with this trial. I would say this wins Trump the election. I think he had it in the bag already. I think these trials have put him over the top, and I think this guilty verdict will help him even more politically. However, there's one catch to this being in our new banana republic.
That it's rigged. The election's totally rigged.
How fair are our elections? We know we don't trust the justice system.
Yeah.
Do we trust our elections anymore? And after 2020, I cannot. We already knew all of them had. Listen, dead people have been voting Democrat, and the mafia voting Democrat in the 60s. This has been ongoing for a long time. Mm-hmm. What happened in 2020 was different. Can we trust our voting booth? I don't think we can till I see otherwise. So in a normal world, I would say this is actually going to be good for Trump moving forward. But
I think the fundraising showed that.
That's right.
Right after he got the guilty verdict on all 34 counts, he ended up raising $35 million just that night, which is like one of the biggest fundraising campaigns ever in a day.
And you know what? I'm going to tie that to something later about his media company stock. Remind me of that. But yeah, it crashed. It had to shut down. It was getting too much traffic.
That's another thing we should mention about the trial. From what I heard, a lot of the counts that he was charged with, a lot of the 34 counts, were not supposed to be made as felonies. And they ended up getting bumped up for some reason to felonies. Like, one of the most just rigged things. To me, it shouldn't have even been illegal. I mean, signing an NDA is legal as can be.
That whole case, in most circumstances, if this was still America, that case would have had... No one would have tried that case because it was so weak.
It would have got pushed out before anything...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about a guy that, in another interesting turn of events, starting to have a good partnership together. I think they have both been trampled on by the left and the system, and I think they are a good partnership starting to form. Is Elon Musk and Trump. Elon Musk and Neuralink just got some amazing news. They got some kind of approval through the government, through the FDA, to expand their research, and all kind of paraplegics and people with neural problems are signing up for this. So it looks like Neuralink is
starting to get some traction. They had that one good case, and now they're finally going to expand.
Yep. So it's awesome. Could be scary. Who knows? But it's expanding. The other thing that's in the news,
I think in the beginning that's going to help a lot of people out. Before AI goes totally nuts, I think in the beginning we're about to see a lot of lives changed, and I think Neuralink is going to be leading that charge.
I agree. I also think that at some point, you keep condensing all of our information, all of our devices, all of our systems. At some point, I think the time is going to come where if you have no problems, you could still go get the chip in your head and connect it to Wi-Fi and things get scary at that point. Anyway, that's another story. That's way in the future. Another thing that's right now is the ongoing conflict with Israel. Really disturbing is that Israel went into Rafah, I believe it's called, section of the Gaza Strip. They are now targeting some of the Hamas leadership, a little more directly. And for some reason, it's not being seen as a good thing to the Biden administration. They are, because of that, pulling funding, pulling weaponry, making all kind of threats, calling for new ceasefires. It seems like every 2 minutes, on top of America not being the same America.
They're also not necessarily all administration per se, but who are those people called? They're going after Netanyahu and pretty much trying to get him arrested.
Yep.
I forgot what the administration's called.
One of these ridiculous,
like UN or something.
One of these ridiculous multinational. I think it is
New World Order.
I'm not sure if it's the UN or through the UN, but yeah, they're going after the New World Order. Not Hollywood Hogan, brother. They're going after Netanyahu as a war criminal. And another scary thing is our administration, administration, I like to call it. They're not stepping up to support him, to back him.
I personally think what he's doing is the right thing. If you're going to get it over with, at some point you have to make a leap in, right? So
first of all, we should always support Israel.
Yeah.
Some things are bigger than politics. Second of all, they were attacked and they're fighting terrorists.
Yeah. Now they're stepping in to pretty much also take land that was theirs.
Anyway, sponsor this half hour. Donald J. Trump Media. Truth Social. You have to support this man. You're going to have to support him now more than ever. We opened up a Truth Social page, so go find the New American Liberty League on that and support Donald J. Trump Media and Truth Social. Sponsor this half hour. Speaking of DJT, and speaking of what you were earlier about how his fundraising site crashed, but yet his stock, you want to talk about how the left, they have their tentacles in everything. His stock somehow, even though he raised $37 million yesterday,
is down 7%.
His stock is down today 7%.
It makes 0 sense. Like zero. The only thing I could possibly see with the stock being down is possibly people thinking he will lose the election. But I feel like
not too many people picked up his media company expecting it to be a huge moneymaker, especially right away. I feel like the only reason people pick this up is because they know it financially helps him.
Yeah.
I think, and the only reason people short it is knowing they're trying to hurt him. Mm-hmm. It is a completely political stock. Even though he was found guilty yesterday, it seems like he won the political battle yesterday and the fundraising battle yesterday. So the fact that this stock is down today, to me, is super fishy. It is manipulation and... Let me ask you this, Emil. Are the powers that be able to manipulate the stock market?
Absolutely. I mean, I believe so.
Okay,
I think in 2020 it was also 100% guaranteed. It was known that government money was going into inflating the stock market, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Like, that is fully on record. The question is, how much do they pump it up?
Right. And what do they do? What do they do? Because we knew they shorted up during COVID.
Yeah.
But what do they do behind the scenes? Behind the scenes. And an interesting thing leading into our next financial subject is I think whether they cheat another election and Biden stays in, or if Trump wins and they stop pumping it up and manipulating it to still look good.
I think the stock market does bad either way.
I think at least for a time going into and after the election, I think there's going to be a recession. Mm-hmm. If it's a recession under Biden, they may have to let it get out of the system. Biden's a lame duck president. Good luck if he's even there for another 2 years. You could start to pump it up as you think about changing him or going into midterms again. If it's Trump, I think they're going to be hands off and let the real economy show, which, listen,
it's in bad shape. And yeah.
we are in the economy. Like, we are in the economy through our businesses, through real estate, through the fact that we do remodels also. We're at Home Depot every day. We're also the normalest family you'll ever meet. So we're at Walmart a couple times a week. We know the economy. How many times a week do we put gas? 3 times a week we put gas.
Literally every day.
Almost every day. I refuse to fill up a tank. But either way, we know the economy, and there is a lot of stresses on it right now. And the Dow and the NASDAQ, they're being pushed up so it doesn't look bad for Biden. But I think that's going to change. No matter who wins, I think that's going to change soon. So
I think another thing that shows that it's manipulated is, who's that one woman you say she gets into a stock and then it always does well? Is it Pelosi? Yeah.
Yes.
Pelosi and her family will get into a stock. Her husband will get into it, and all of a sudden it's up 50% the next month.
She knew the bills that were coming before they were even coming, and then she knew who to help out with those bills, or who would be helped out with those bills. And that's probably something that's so persistent in politics. But we know it's something that is insider trading. I just think there's a lot of behind the scenes movement that we don't know about. Mm-hmm. So if we both think that at least for some time there's going to be a good pullback in the market, what is the easiest way? There's other things you could do, but what is the easiest way to make money in a bear market, Emil?
Well, as it's going down, invest stocks. If you're in the stock market, it's pretty good. There's one called SDOW, SQQ.
QQQ. 3 Qs.
3 Qs.
Yep. I think those are probably the 2 easiest inverses.
Yeah,
one is the inverse of the NASDAQ. Inverse means as these markets, inverse means you're betting against the market. So if you were to buy SDOW, you're actually betting that the Dow goes down. Your inverse will go up. So to me, those are the two easiest stock market plays. There's a bunch of things you could do in a bad market. As a matter of fact, bad markets, not just the stock market, bad economies build wealth. But today we're just going to talk about easy things you could do in the market. There is no easier things to do in a bad market than inverse stocks.
Save money until then, so that you can also buy a property at a quarter of the price or whatever.
Yep. Just research them. I'm not saying buy them now, but research them. Keep an eye on the market, and just be prepared. But at least if you do feel this is the time for a downturn, whenever that time comes, inverse stocks are key.
It's also something that's good to own as a part of your portfolio, pretty much in any market, just so if things ever do turn around, you have a little bit of a buffer in your portfolio.
And obviously in a bear market, you just want to load up on them.
Yeah.
Other than that, a little buffer, that's fine. The other thing going on in the market, since we're there on stocks, is June 6th, NVIDIA is having a 10-for-1 split. Had you listened to us about NVIDIA early on, it was in the 4s, the 6s, the 8s. Now it's somewhere around
$1,100, I think.
$1,100. So there's a split, a 10-for-1 split, which makes it very affordable. To me, I think the best thing you can do is buy 1 share now. If you could afford 1 share now, Go ahead and pick it up. I like to buy going into a split. I know some people feel different. Things get complicated after a split. I like to pick up going into the split. So if you could afford even one share now, do it. If not, just know that NVIDIA stocks are going to be around, 120 something bucks
and then
come June 6th.
It'll probably push over the next year or two to somewhere in the fours, I'd imagine, right? $400.
I think within a year or two, even in a bad market, I think NVIDIA is going to be over 4.
Yeah.
I think within a year or two, you get back to 5, 6.
Yeah.
Easy.
So that's at least quadruple your money.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not beating that with any other stock, pretty much.
yeah. So that's something, whether you're a beginner and could only afford one share of the video, or if your portfolio is big and you could afford more. It's almost one of those. I said it during the Walmart split. This is a not miss. You cannot miss this. There's no messing this up.
And Walmart, since that split, has only made money, and I expect
money,
NVIDIA
yeah.
to do the same.
It will do the same. Like I said, some things take a while after the split to get moving, but once they do, big companies like that, good companies, once they get moving, they move fast. Listen, we're on True Social now. Follow that. I'm not even sure how to use it yet, but we'll figure it out and we'll post some videos there. Please support the YouTube channel, support the Facebook channel, New American Liberty League. All of us now that we're getting closer and closer to the election year, we better support each other as much as possible on social media. Support your conservative friends, your conservative pages, support our page. And
find people in your local area who hold the same values as you.
Yep. We better support each other all the time, but in an election year, it matters. It matters even more. And we are the New American Liberty League.
Saving the Republic, one listener at a time.